Hey everyone, you're here with Mark Boutwell, CEO of Perfect Gardens. Just saw a really great post here on LinkedIn, and question basically was, can the is it really effective for the lights to be up this high? Okay, and yes, is there only a couple of set of lights? I mean, it does. I'm pretty sure this is a greenhouse facility too. I don't think this is completely indoors, and I could be wrong on that. So this is really more supplemental light than anything else. Although, let's just give some parameters. Let's say these were filled in, these were HIDs, or these were lights at the top completely filled in. This was a completely enclosed room, and we had the lights at the very top. Okay. Well, if you are measuring out the square footage in your room and you are properly putting in the amount of lights to maximize the amount of light being released and the square footage and everything, then yes, it's going to be a lot more effective for the lights to be up higher than down below, because the lights actually create a huge microenvironment, and it creates a very inconsistent environment for the plants to grow. And as long as the plants really just have what it needs to grow, and it's not being put through extreme stresses, it will always produce more, because you kind of got to think about it like on a day in and day out basis. Does If the plant has to go through an extreme high and extreme low, and every single day, day in day out, well, it's going to be putting energy into recovering its stuff or overcoming that stress. Although if you don't put the plants to that stress on a day in and day out basis, even if it doesn't get the perfect amount of light or something along those lines, that isn't the ideal amount or something, because it's day in, day out that the plant's healthier and it doesn't have to overcome stress before it begins to grow and start producing. And it just skips that first step of overcoming stress, goes straight into the growing, straight into the producing. And then as it continuously keeps doing its proper function, you're going to have less bug problems, you're going to have less plant deficiency issues, and those issues over time accumulate, which again over time hurts your return, hurts your ROI. So lights up top will always produce a higher ROI. So he asked this question. He said, "Will the plant really be able to get their composition point?" And I don't really understand what he means composition point. I think what he's talking about is, will they be able to meet their full potential of cannabinoids and production? As long as they're as long as the plant is receiving the the amount of light it's that's it, over time, I've always found, and I use HIDs, I don't use LEDs and all these other things. So over time, I've always found the ideal light is roughly around 750 watts, and also having a height of roughly 8 to 10 feet up or more. So let's say, for example, we have one single light in a 10 by 10 square foot area. Well, that I'm only giving the plant a fourth of what if there was plants all in the 10 by 10 square foot of space, and I'm using one light to for the entire situation. Let's cover the first law of thermodynamics. First law, known as the law of conservation of energy, states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Energy can only be transferred or changed from one to another. So when we think about it like that with the plants, and let's say we had 10 square feet of space, right, and one single light, which ideally you want four 750 watt lights in a 10 foot by 10 foot square foot of space. If I couple years ago, I would be able to rattle off the lumens and the yada yada and all kinds of other stuff, but I've forgotten. At this point, though, if you only have 450 watts of light in a 10 by 10 square foot of space, and the plants are full, what's going to happen is that light is going to be released from the released, and it's going to go into those plants through photosynthesis, and it's going to change. The thing about it though is that you have a lot of plants in that room absorbing that energy. So you don't have an adequate amount of energy in that room for those plants to produce. So they're never, as long as the plants are healthy, they're going to produce. Okay, and they're going to produce, if they're healthy and they're consistent, they'll probably produce more under that one single watt, 1,000 watt light that's 8 to 10 feet higher than if um, you try to just drop them right over the plants and they were just going through extremes. You'd run into spider mites, others. You'd grow healthier, easier flower. You might run into issues because it's not a lot, it might potentially not be enough energy for those plants to do its function. And you could do other things to fix that problem by removing some of the plant material, so it reduces its photosynthesis needs in a sense. So maybe you start stripping the plant of leaves, and you don't, or you limit the plant's growth to only a couple inches, or like a foot. Well, by doing that, you don't have as much leaf, so you don't, the plant doesn't need as much energy, so it's going to be able to do its function with less. And it will be a higher possibility if it's covering it, being able to meet its best possible composition, because you are working within the parameters you have, in a sense. In this situation, will the plant be able to meet its full composition? Well, this is a greenhouse. Yeah, absolutely. The sun is what you want, guys. Not these lights. These lights are supplemental. These lights are going to keep the plants in a certain type of vegetative state longer, or they're going, if the sun's dropping and you need another 2 or 3 hours of sunlight so that you have 12 adequate hours of light to maximize its possible potential. Yes, of course it's going to be a great supplemental situation. Although it's with these amount of lights right here, for this amount of square footage, this high up, if it's just indoors, no, the plants aren't going to meet any of its potential at all. Although if it's a supplemental in this greenhouse, yes, these plants are going to meet its potential and exceed it. Because if it was just a greenhouse, it would lose less light, or it wouldn't have as much light throughout the day. It would have less control. And with less control, it changes the environments, and by changing the environments too much, it puts the plants through extreme highs and lows. And I've talked about this before. If you get in a plane and go to Alaska in the winter, go outside for half the day, get on a plane, go to Phoenix, Arizona, where it's 100 degrees, and then go outside for half a day, and then keep repeating this pattern of Alaska, Phoenix, what's going to happen to your immune system? It's going to drop. It's not going to do well. Same situation here. Everyone's focusing on technology and lights and fertilizer and all these things. Everyone needs to focus more on just creating a very consistent environment. And then when you throw in lights, or you throw in fertilizers, throw in other things, how much is that, create that new consistent environment and stay within a parameter. Stay within a parameter. Don't go through extreme highs and lows. You do that, the immune system's going to drop. Immune system just drop. You're going to get sick. You get sick, you're going to be held back. And because there is these are not plants that continuously grow. They have a season. For every day they're sick, they're not producing. They're not growing. They're not putting energy into flowering. So, alright guys, hopefully this was helpful. So sorry this video was so long. If you ever need more help, come to Grow Help, and we'd love to help you out at perfectgardens.com. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.